Stand by SOT1.
Standing.
10 seconds. Ready, rollin'. Ready, SOT1.
Ready.
In 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll in.
From legendary Uncle Studios in beautiful Southern California, welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters, the central location for you employees, you employers, and of course, we haven't forgotten about you damn independent contractors. And now, here's this week's edition of Work Comp Matters.
12 noon, straight up, May 15, 2020. My name is Steve Appell. Welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters. We are sponsored by the workcompcentral.com. If you want the number one location for workers' compensation in both California and around the United States, check out the workcompcentral.com. They've got a free 7-day offer, and if you want to pick up their services, I have them. You should too, damn it. It's only $1 a day. Work Comp Matters is also brought to you by A1 Law, number one computer management system, 818-357-4120 for your no strings attached, money back guaranteed, $1 a day. A1 Law. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm joined by the madman across the water, John Scalia, as well as my chief of staff, Dr. Mike Zyma. And after weeks of telling residents to stay indoors, Los Angeles officials this week started easing strict stay-at-home rules. But Angelenos, desperate to return to the beaches, mountains, and trails as summer approaches, just learned there is a catch. Both city and county officials said residents must wear face coverings when going outdoors. The rules apply anytime you're out and there are people around, whether it be a trailhead or a parking lot or a sidewalk. Now, I find this fascinating because it is a documented fact that a majority of the COVID-19 deaths in the United States are in New York and New Jersey. It is a documented fact that a majority of the COVID-19 deaths are in nursing homes. It is a documented fact that 66% of all of the deaths in New York/New Jersey, or the 66% of the diagnosed COVID-19, is from people that were staying indoors. That means less than a third of the diagnosed are outdoors. And by the way, if you are out in the beach, if you are on a hiking trail, if you are on a sidewalk, if you are driving on the freeway, as Dr. Mike has said before, and we'll get to that in a little bit, if we get to that at all, that if you pass someone, i.e., they're going the other way, your interreaction with them is less than a second. The actual chances of you contracting the disease from them, if they have that, are next to nothing. It is starting to appear clear that it's not just getting within 6 feet of some stranger on the street for 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 or 10 seconds, but the majority of the people that are contracting this virus, are when they are indoors and next to them for minutes, a long period of time. The chances of you contracting the disease by walking out in public, be it on my sidewalk in front of my home in a residential area, or when I'm filling my car up with gasoline at the most dangerous intersection in Woodland Hills at the Chevron station at the corner of Ventura and DeSoto, or if I'm smoking a cigarette on Van Nuys Boulevard in front of my office, the chances of contracting COVID-19 by some stranger who I just pass for 5 seconds or they pass me is infinitesimal. If I pronounce that correctly, it's basically next to nothing. A majority of people that are contracting the disease are people that they're interreacting with inside closed doors. Okay, why am I bringing this up? Because when Garcetti comes out and says, okay, we're going to start reopening the city and the county, but you damn well better be wearing a mask out in public. There is no science. There is no medical. There are no statistics. There is no substantial evidence. Hell, I don't even know if there's any evidence whatsoever that if we are out in public and interact with a stranger for 5 seconds, that we are going to contract the virus. So why should we be required to wear a mask unless, of course, we have the plan to interact with strangers or be with a group of people that we have never been with before? It is my opinion. It is my editorial. It is my crystal ball that says I am going to have a mask with me at all times. But if I'm out in public, unless I plan in advance or arbitrarily come within a group of people that I don't know, as long as that doesn't happen, I'm not wearing a mask in public. I am off my rant. That is my initial opinions for the start of the show. John Scalia, what's your take?
Well, I go back to what the advice was in the beginning of the whole COVID thing. And the medical advice was that the most common way of contracting it was prolonged exposure in a small space with somebody who is infected. So that is what you're saying. And that's what the doctor said at the start. They said the way you get it is by being in a small area with someone who's infected for a protracted period of time. Stop, halt. No, that's not running on a beach.
John, I love it when you and I are on the same page. Now, Dr. Mike, I know you have no plans to go on the beach this weekend. I know you have no plans to go on a hiking trail. I know you have no plans to go in a park. But if you were to go in a park, at the beach, on a hiking trail, I know you would bring your mask, but would you wear it the entire time?
Well, it's interesting you say that. We have been doing our walking on the weekend, and we do, and we walk in a variety of places, but we do bring our mask just in case we come into closer contact with some humanoids. Now, I'd like to say that which you said about there's no way you can contract it from walking by somebody, and that which John said, which I understand to be true, prolonged exposure to somebody who has the virus, there's just too many unknowns with this beast. I would not be comfortable around anybody without a mask. I mean, other than my family members, obviously, when I'm sitting in my own home. But I would not be comfortable. There's just too many. There's too many unknowns. And Steve, it's interesting that you guys are talking about the prolonged exposure, which would mean that it's hard to get. I don't know whether you remember it was about 2 months ago when Robert Ozeron brought that article from the Journal of the American Medical Association, although it could be Lancet, it could be the New England Medical Association, whatever, that talked about how difficult it was to contract the virus. Remember that article, Steve?
Mike, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday.
So I am hearing two sides of the story. I am hearing that, let's say you're in let's say it's 5 months ago or 4 months ago, and you're in an airline, and somebody sneezes, that the virus load, if you will just permeate that entire section of the plane. So that would indicate that it's easy to get. On the other hand, I have heard and seen the article about how difficult it is to contract the virus. So I'm hearing both things. And when I'm hearing both things, that means to me, nobody don't know nothing. So just be very, very careful. That's my opinion.
John, go ahead. We got about 4 minutes left before the break, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you're on a plane and somebody sneezes, that's kind of the definition of prolonged exposure in a small space.
No, John, you're absolutely right. And Mike and I work at in an office building, a 5-story office building in Van Nuys.
I've been there.
One block from the Workers' Compensation Appeals Board between Oxnard and Victory. Our office is on Van Nuys Boulevard, and in the front of the office, we have about a 50 square foot space, which I use to smoke in. It's like 7 by 7 feet, 8 by 8 feet, whatever it is, that goes east of Van Nuys Boulevard. And when I'm in the office, I'll go out, once every hour or two and smoke a cigarette. I'm in the space, I'm smoking a cigarette. If I see someone walking by, and of course I don't have my mask, I just back up because I can obtain 6 feet of space. Now, on the other hand, if I were to stay there and the person were to simply walk by with nothing out of the ordinary, I wouldn't think twice about it. But if all of a sudden the person in the process of walking by started hacking, coughing, sneezing, I would have reason to be concerned. My name is Steve Appell. You're dialed into Work Comp Matters. We're brought to you by the workcompcentral.com. If you want the #1 location for workers' compensation employment, check out the workcompcentral.com. They've got a free 7-day offer. You want to pick up their services, I have them. You should too. It's only $1 a day. Work Comp Matters is also brought to you by A1 Law, #1 computer management system, 818-357-4120 for your no strings attached money back guarantee. $1 a day, A1 Law. Mike is coming up with the news, but right now he's a regular contributor to the show. He's a retired 35, 40-year workers' compensation attorney who was practicing the socialist life in Southern California, but a few years back, he decided to move out to Munich, Germany, put his money where his mouth is, and live the socialist life with his regular contribution to the show, Mr. John Scalia.
Hi, it's the madman across the water. Well, the German Bundestag did something today that really irritates me. They passed a law that said it's a crime to burn the European Union flag. Now, as an American, and especially as an American lawyer, I'm attached to the First Amendment, freedom of expression, freedom of speech. And I believe in freedom of speech. And so I think that symbolic speech should also be protected. I would point out that in the United States, where it is free speech to burn the American flag, that one of the justices who sided in the majority in that opinion was Justice Scalia, who said, clearly, this is symbolic speech. And so the idea that they would criminalize burning the European Union flag, or any flag for that matter, is just ridiculous. And when I talk about free speech, I'm really consistent. For instance, people talk about hate crimes. Well, I always have a question when somebody says something like a hate crime. I say, let me ask you something. When somebody is killed, are they less killed if they weren't killed by a hate crime? I mean, dead is dead, right? So what difference does it make what the motivation of the killer is? And that's precisely my point. The law should never be involved in motivation. The law should never be involved in trying to figure out what's in your brain when you do something. The law should only be concerned with what you do. So, I mean, I've told Europeans this since I arrived here. You know, I miss my First Amendment rights, which I get in America, but which I don't get here. And I think in America, that we also make a mistake, because hate crime should not exist. Crime is a crime. It's the same thing with conspiracy laws. I hate conspiracy laws. Why? Because if you're a lawyer and you go to law school and you realize what conspiracy laws are, they're basically prosecuting people for what's in their head and not for what they did. You can actually prosecute somebody for a conspiracy if, in furtherance of the conspiracy, they buy a teaspoon. That's absurd. It's prosecuting people for what's in their mind, and I'm against it. The law should be concerned with acts, not what's in your mind and not what comes out of your mouth. That's the view from here.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, John.
May I say something?
Yes, you sure may, as long as after you say it, John addresses the legal intent as far as what's in your mind. But go ahead.
I see. Okay. Well, I'm in complete agreement with John, especially with regard to symbolic speech. And I just want to give an example of what I saw with my own los ojos, my own eyes, the day or within 24 hours, the United States Supreme Court finding that the burning of the American flag was a symbolic speech act. Okay. I was going to Dodger Stadium. It was at that time before a game, immediately before a game, where you're getting your butt through the turnstiles so you can grab your hot dog and beer and sit down before the game starts, right? You're rushing through there. And I kind of stopped because my friend had to go to the restroom, and the national anthem started playing. Everybody, including those people that were rushing through the turnstiles, stopped to pay homage to the flag. And I thought that was the perfect symbolic speech in response to the finding that the burning of the American flag in and of itself is an act of symbolic speech. Okay, that's fine. I'm fine with that. And those people, you know what I'm talking about, John?
Absolutely. And there were years before and since when during the playing of the national anthem, I sat down. I was way ahead of Colin Kaepernick.
John, you just really quickly, you indicate, if I understood you correctly, that what's in your mind should not matter. It's only the act. But don't the legal definitions of both mens rea and intent distinctly go to what's in your mind?
Only insofar as it allows you or furthers you in committing the act, in the sense that you have to intend to do what you did. It's not really, in other words, it's the old McNaughton rule. If you shot somebody and you thought it was a tree, well, you don't have the mens rea. I mean, that's what mens rea refers to.
You got to know it's wrong.
Right. See, but that goes to a modification which says psychiatrically you can't be responsible for your acts if you don't know they're wrong. But as we know, juries apply a common sense standard. That's why people who are obviously insane get adjudicated sane and sent to prison. I mean, is there anybody who really thinks Jeffrey Dahmer was sane? I mean, really?
All right. Very, very good. Well, my name is...
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay. Now, let's say you're out there in your smoke zone, okay, and a guy comes walking by without a mask, and he looks like he's a pretty gnarly dude, okay? And would you say anything to that person about not having a mask? Can you imagine any kind of a situation where you would say something to someone?
You mean if he walked by?
Yeah.
Hell no. Why? Why would I want to cause a problem? I thought you were going to ask me the last time I went to fill up my car with gas earlier this week, and I walked into the convenience part of the Chevron station at the most dangerous intersection in Woodland Hills at the corner of DeSoto and Ventura. I was able to sneak in the line of 12 to 15 cars waiting for the friggin' Starbucks. I got in, I started filling up my car with gas. I put my mask on. I walked into the convenience part of the Chevron station. I was the first person in line. There was someone who walked in without a mask. He then put his mask on. He then was at the cashier, which of course was separated by plexiglass, and he ordered something. It was cigarettes and a lighter or whatever. And then he took the money out of his pocket. He didn't have enough money for what he wanted. Then after about 2 or 3 minutes, he said, oh, well, you know what? I got to think about it. And he stepped aside 2 feet. And there was someone in line behind me, the second person in line, who the guy must have been, well, let me just say, I'm clearly the first person in line. I didn't make a move when the guy stepped aside. The guy behind me says, can I go in front of you? And I said, no, I'm first person in line. I'm waiting for this schnook. I didn't use the word schnook or putz or idiot. I said, I'm waiting for him to move 6 feet away. And so then everybody looked at me. The guy moved 6 feet away. I then walked up to the plexiglass. 2 packs of Marlboro Red 100s, please. He said $18.18 or whatever. I put my credit card in, took my credit card out. I was done in 60 seconds and walked out. So, and I had my face covering on. So, Mike, when you say if someone is unmasked or masked, and am I going to intentionally cause a problem? Me, no. I want right now, during this situation, I want as little reaction with strangers, people that I don't meet. I want as little reaction, interreaction as often as possible. Now, as far as online, email, text, the workcompmatters.org channel, Facebook, whatever, Instagram, whatever, I'll take as much as I can get. I'm happy to comment. I'm happy to tell, but strangers in the street, no, I want 6 feet distance. And if you walk by without a mask, no, I'm not going to give you a dirty look.
How about in the elevator?
You know what? I think we have about 6 minutes left in the show. I know we got to get to the second news story.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. The news story is yours.
Newsom's, the Gav's, revised budgets contain deep cuts to virtually all state programs. Okay, here we go. The Gav unveiled a revised state budget Thursday that reflects the economic devastation wrought by COVID-19, shaving $19 billion off the January spending plan he released when state coffers were brimming with dough. The Gav proposed canceling $6.1 billion in program expansions from his original budget, asking state workers to take a 10% pay cut and ordering state agencies to shave 5% off general spending. The budget proposes deep cuts to virtually all state programs. The governor also dropped a plan to extend Medi-Cal health coverage to low-income undocumented seniors over 65, a move that could cause friction with legislative Democrats hoping to support a community more vulnerable to the virus. In addition, Medi-Cal recipients will see a reduction in services in the budget proposal unless the state receives sufficient federal aid to restore them. Quote, "It goes without saying that these are not ordinary times," the GAF said. So there we are, and I predict this is just the beginning. I mean, I'm pension liabilities. John, for crying out loud, the pension liabilities were barely funded as it was. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's a common problem in the states, and it's a tribute to the fact that the public employees union has no opposition at the table. I mean, it's not negotiated. I mean, I know I'm a socialist, but we have plenty of private enterprise here, and the problem is when public employees negotiate, there's nobody negotiating in the public interest. There's only them, and that creates an imbalance, and you pay for it.
And you know what, John, I like that. That creates an imbalance, and you pay for that. I want everybody to remember that, John, that was cool. But I got to tell you, we've got about 4 minutes left, and this is my plan for the next 48 to 72 hours. When I go into public, and I don't plan to be there too often, but when I go into public, I'm bringing my mask, shirt pocket, butt pocket, side pocket, whatever. If I do not come into contact with any strangers within 6 feet, I have no intention of wearing that mask. Garcetti, you want to come and arrest me? Here I am, okay? I am 100% transparent. On the other hand, if I anticipate, or if I see, or if it appears that for some reason a stranger that I don't know is coming into my space, is coming into my 6 foot radius for more than 3 to 5 seconds, that mask is going on and I'm stepping back. Okay. Let me make this perfectly clear. I am all about safety. If something happens to me in public, I have no intention of going to see my mom and dad who are in their 80s. But also, I have no intention of wearing a mask 100% of the time when I go out into public. But I'm taking one with me as a precaution. Mike, 2 minutes left. Burning desires, closing thoughts.
Nope. I look forward to another presentation on Monday.
Well, it's a damn good show. John, burning desires, closing thoughts.
We don't have to wear a mask in public in Germany.
But you've said on the show before, when you take the bus or whatnot, you're within a closed area. Yeah.
Right. You have to wear it. You have to wear it in the bus. You have to wear it inside.
There's no science. There's no medical. There are no numbers. There are no statistics that indicate that wearing a mask in public when you're not within 6 foot of another person is going to make you safer. My name is Steve Appell. You've been listening to another edition of Work Comp Matters. I want to thank the madman across the water, John Scalia, my chief of staff, Dr. Mike Zyma, Scott Walton of Uncle Studio, and all the good people back at workcompcentral.com that continue to support and approve of this project, including, but not limited to, Ms. Kristen Chavez. My name is Steve Appell. We'll see you again tomorrow at noon for another edition of Work Comp Matters.